Hello everyone, this is CounterYolo, bringing you another video talking about Star Trek Online. But this video is going to be a bit different, as for those of you that listened to my last video, I was going to talk about some different things about the other Starship pack, but after all the times that I was going through it, I couldn't find a good way to talk about them, so instead in this video I'm going to talk about a Starship pack which I really want Cryptic to just add to the game. As thus, this video is not going to be talking about a real pack inside the game. Instead, it's going to be a little bit more of me venting and kind of going over a little bit of my grief inside the game. I'm going to try to do it in my most positive way possible, which is, instead of just complaining about stuff that I wish was in the game, I would just be like, okay, Cryptic, here is a solution that you could add to the game that would not only solve a lot of the problems, but most likely make you a lot more money in the process too. So there's the outline there for what's going to be in this video of a pack which I hope that they release in later March. Anyway, feel free to see the time links in the video if you're interested in all that. So first off, just so that you're aware, here's the 4 reasons that I make a video for Star Trek Online. The first one is if a subject is really popular. The Starship comparisons videos are super popular on this channel. Also, the upcoming expansion content stuff that I used to do last fall was also pretty good. It was the biggest reason as to why my channel started to expand and get a lot of subscribers initially, and why people started to notice my channel. Now it's veered more towards Starship comparison stuff, and also hopefully sometime next month we will have Starship lore stuff beginning to be uploaded to the channel too. Secondly, I make stuff because, and maybe it's not necessarily going to be insanely popular to start off with, but maybe it's stuff that's super searchable that would get views eventually on the channel. The Low Buy Store video, as well as my Earnable Tank and Starships video, as well as other videos like these, have gotten a lot of views on this channel because they're extremely searchable, and very few people have talked about the whole amounts inside the game. So stuff like this is also pretty good for my channel. But outside of those 2 things, sometimes I just make a video just because I feel the community needs the information. My budget beam tank video, as well as my mechanics videos like exceeding 75% resistance, explaining damage to shield resistance inside the game, explaining bridge officer abilities, explaining my personal views on bridge officer traits. A lot of those types of videos are on the channel not because they're going to get the best views, best view time, whatever. It's because I feel the community needs the information, and there's not a lot of people really talking about that type of information inside of the game. And then lastly, if it's not one of those 3 things and the video's on the channel, it's just because I feel that I just need or want to talk about it. That's what this video is today. It's not one of the normal reasons that I have inside of this channel to have to talk about these, so it's probably not going to appeal to a lot of you. So for my personal biases, here's what I think Star Trek Online and Cryptic should have inside of Starship packs. First off, they need to make packs that feel worthwhile to the players. Anchoring your player base is the last thing that you should do, and for the values of the packs, which I might do, I made 5 different iterations of this video, but prior to this one that I was starting to go over a lot of the values of the packs, but it was hard for me to go over the values of the packs without starting to get cringy and negative. So I decided to do this version instead. But basically, newer packs should feel at least the same value as older packs, or they should have a better value. The Discovery Operations pack did not do this at all, in the slightest. It did add some value to free-to-play players, but that doesn't really make Cryptic money, which is the second point. Packs should also make your company a lot of money. There's 2 ways to do that. Either make the pack sound so great that a large majority of players just buys the pack and you make a lot of money that way, or you make your pack in a way that it promotes other in-game purchases. The Discovery Operations pack did this through promoting more fleet starships at Tier 2 military, which Tier 2 military means that they really want a lot of the player base to buy the fleet modules to get those starships there. Just throw that out there. I really feel that newer packs should also help promote older packs, and that's how they could also make money. And the pack that I'm going to be talking about in this video would help to do that. The other points is it's got to solve problems inside the game, and it's got to look fun and exciting too. One of my favorite packs inside the game, which in my best valued C-store packs inside the game, I talked about it a little bit there. The 31st Century Temporal Ship Bundle, I feel is the best valued pack inside the game right now. However, because of how they marketed it, and for those of you that aren't aware, I did look through all the posts of Cryptic over the last 10 years for my STO lore video. It took a long time to do that, but when I was looking through all the history, it looked like that one didn't really sell quite so well. More because that they didn't present the pack as something super interesting for the player base to buy. The pack is super great and falls into stuff that definitely is worthwhile, solves a lot of problems, and should make them money. But because they didn't do this as well, you know, it's for all factions, it didn't sell as well as they were probably expecting it to. Now, for the assumptions for what I'm proposing for this pack to solve, first off, there's some player-based issues inside the game. Right now, if you're not a Federation captain, you feel discriminated against. There's no way to basically, you know, kindly walk around the issue. Basically, if you're not a Federation captain, you feel neglected, discriminated, whatever you want to call it. There's very few incentives right now to play them, and if you're not a Federation or Federation-aligned captain, you actually have less options inside the game to play. Very, very, very limiting as to what you're going to be doing. Additionally, if you're going to have multiple captains, it's also really hard to play, especially if you're trying to use non-free-to-play sources, like there's a lot of consoles and traits that aren't account unlocked. I mean, there are some traits from the C-store that are available, but most of your starships outside of that aren't account unlocked either. Yes, there are some winter, summer, and anniversary ships that are account unlocked if you earn the ship during that time. But outside of those times, if you get those starships like from the Phoenix lockbox, it's only unlocked for that exact captain that unlocks that starship. It's not for your whole count. Also, we haven't had a lot of new science ships in the game for a while. We've had the Crossfield, we've had a couple of Herc ships, we've had a couple of pseudo-science ships with a couple of carriers, but the damage-dealing science ships, it's been a while. I'm sorry, it's just been a while inside the game. So what I think that they should do is make the new Enterprise a science ship, and to add the Science Miracle Workers stuff to that ship as well. Additionally, the Science and KDF version of the ship are going to be drastically different in terms of their loadouts, traits and consoles, and things along with them, so that they actually feel different and fun to fly. Additionally, as what was said about 2 weeks ago at this point by Ruin the Fun, instead of just copy-pasting counterparts on the enemy faction starship, each starship should feel different, and the traits and consoles you get from them should be different as well, so that the player base feels motivated to buy the entire pack, instead of just buying one ship and just feeling good because you're only a Federation captain. Additionally, I mean, along with this pack, the bonus things we're going to be talking about later in this video is that they should be adding Starship Mastery to all Tier 5U and Tier 6 starships to the game. It should just be added to the game. Whether they actually add it as part of a monetization, as part of this, or some other pack, or they just just add it to the game for everyone, like they just add it to the game that Realmling captains can fly their ally faction starships. That was something cool that they added whenever the Gamma Quadra expansion came out, and that was a super nice welcome to the game. But anyway, for the starship pack basis, the starships themselves are going to be based off of 2 other starships inside the game. Because I do starship comparisons videos, we'll get into those specific stats at a slightly later part in this video. In terms of the premises inside of them for the raw stats and for the starship and console, for the Federation, Captain Pike commanded 2 starships at the same time, as we see in the first couple episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 2. And the Enterprise failed because of multiple catastrophic system failures. Both these concepts will be reflected inside the starship. For the Discovery Klingon Battlecruiser, it's going to be based upon Volk / Lieutenant Tyler. I didn't really ever like his character in the show, but it's kind of the best thing that we have for the D7, since he's the one who has designed the new D7 for the Klingon Empire. So that stuff for the trading console are going to be based upon that. As we get into our new Discovery Constitution, we have to talk about the old stuff in the past, which is the TOS Enterprise, as well as the Enterprise F, because the Enterprise F is actually, if you look at Star Trek Online lore, I know a lot of you probably don't look at that too clearly, but the Enterprise F is actually the Science Star Cruiser, so it's the science variant for it, which is, this is actually one of the few cruisers in Star Trek Online that actually has an element of a science ship built into it. I mean, it actually has an ability called sensor analysis, which normally is exclusive to science vessels and the like. But anyway, here's the raw stats for them there. Most of the console stuff I'm just going to be basically pulling over to our Discovery Constitution and kind of melding the two instead of further holes here. Basically, my concept here for the Discovery Enterprise is that it had too many bells and whistles for its own good back in the TOS era, and so when it went for its refit, it really slimmed itself back a ton and made itself more like a traditional cruiser instead of it trying to be this super advanced, trying to be everything cruiser. But now, since we're in Star Trek Online era with 24, 10, 11, 12, whatever you want to call it at this point, we now can add a lot of those bells and whistles back to the ship itself and be able to add it to our fleet. So the console itself is pulled over from the Enterprise F, except that we now have a universal console on here too, because it's a Miracle Worker Starship. For its bridge officer seating, it's a Commander Science Miracle Worker with a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, a Lieutenant Commander Engineering with the option to have any specialization here for its bridge officer seat right here. So it could be Miracle Worker, could also be Temper Operative, Intelligence, Pilot, Command, really whatever that you want to put there, it can actually work there as well, with a Lieutenant and Ensign Universal here as well to round out the ship itself. Additionally, because bowing for the Enterprise F, that it's okay for cruisers that are specifically science cruisers to have one element from a science ship, instead of sensor analysis, it's going to actually have a secondary deflector. One of the things that people criticized my budget science vessels list was that my number one was an actual science cruiser. And they criticized it because they're like, well, science ships have their secondary deflector, which is where a lot of their damage comes from. And I'm like, that's true, technically. It still performs well. But hey, if you really want the science ship to have a secondary deflector, then why not have a science cruiser with a secondary deflector? And hey, it has low turning, but hey, it could potentially output the best damage inside the game, potentially. So, and I feel that that's pretty fair. It also is a science ship with a 4-4 layout, so it's more weapons than any other science ship in the game. However, it has very few tactical seats, so from that argument, you could technically argue that, like the Crossfield, which has 5 science consoles and 4 tactical, is still going to outperform this one. Anyway, let's go ahead and go over to the KDF version. Here's the stats of the TOS D7 and the Vorcha, which is the closest thing that we have in Star Trek Online to this guy right now, honestly, at the tier 6 level. A lot of the themes from the TOS D7 will be pulled over here. You'll have the same kind of theme as the Enterprise one, except obviously the bridge officer seating and some of these things are going to be different. It's going to have slightly better hull than the Vaadwaur because it's a Miracle Worker ship. That's kind of what you would expect. It's going to have a 5-3 layout. It's also going to have the equivalent ability to have dual heavy cannons and a secondary deflector, just like the Discovery Constitution. The console layout is slightly different. It's going to have 3 engineering consoles with 4 science and 4 tactical with its universal console as well. It's slightly less sciencey than the Federation one, as what you would expect. The Federation should have the best science ships. Sorry, it's just kind of how it is inside the game. However, to compensate for that, your ship is very flexible in that you could have 5 science or 5 tactical consoles on this ship. So you could easily build this ship as an actual science DPS ship or as a tactical heavy weapons focused DPS ship as well. And you would also have the secondary deflector to help to enhance your weapons too. For its bridge officer seating, I'm pulling heavily from the TOS Klingon D7, except that we're adding the new mechanic here in that instead of a commander seat and 3 lieutenants, 3 lieutenant commanders, it's going to be 3 commander seats with 1 ensign seat. This is to add a lot more variety and differentiate between the Discovery D7 and the Discovery Constitution, in that the Discovery Constitution has a bridge officer layout similar to what you would expect from most ships inside the game. This one is drastically different than anything else inside of the game. 3 commander seats, one of them is Miracle Worker. One of those commander seats, you have the option to choose any specialization for it. It could be even another Miracle Worker, but probably ideally you would put a different specialization than Miracle Worker in this seat. One caveat is that with this commander specialization seat, whatever specialization that you choose, you don't get the other additional benefits from that specialization. So say if you added a second Miracle Worker commander seat here, you wouldn't get an extra universal console. So just going to throw that out there right now. It's just your ships only get one cool specialization bonus to it, which for this ship it's going to be the Miracle Worker bonus. And then an instant universal slot to round it out to give you the same number of overall bridge officer seats as what you would normally expect from a typical lockbox and low-buy tier 6 or fleet tier 6 starship, which is 13 by the way. Alright, so with those stats out of the way, for the 4-piece set, instead of the traditional really boring 4-piece console set, I decided it would be cool to have 2 consoles and 2 starship traits for this set itself. For the stats themselves inside of it, I wasn't really sure how to actually balance it properly. I'm not a game designer. I'm just a really big fan of Star Trek and Star Trek Online, and these are some things I think would be cool if they potentially added these into a set bonus in some fashion. For the 2-piece, you'll see in a console over here later that this is going to be really beneficial for that console, but the 2-piece basically is going to be giving a lot of basically a lot of incentive to buy older starships inside the game. Because what the 2-piece is going to do is it's going to give you passive stats to any console that you put on your ship that doesn't already have passive stats on it. So basically every tier 1 to tier 5 starship inside the game typically has the console on it that doesn't have passive stats on it. And sometimes it feels bad to put those consoles on some of your endgame starships just because they're like, well, it's a cool clicky, but it's no other stuff to benefit my ship while the clicky's not going. With this 2-piece bonus, now it adds some damage and hull and shield healing to your ship while that clicky of its console is not going. 3-piece, I thought it would be cool just to add a recharge speed for consoles since we don't really have that too much inside the game right now. It's extremely limited to have that. And then the 4-piece, I couldn't think of anything else cool, so I thought just adding another starship trait and universal console to it would be pretty cool. But because it uses consoles and starship traits for the 4-piece set, that might be a little bit too powerful for this bonus. Maybe that should be the bonus if you had one that was strictly just consoles or something. For the traits and the consoles itself in this whole set, the starship trait from the Discovery Constitution class is going to be called Regulation 19 Section C. It's what Captain Pike used whenever he took over the USS Discovery. But because he was the captain of the Discovery and the Enterprise at the same time, its unique benefits to your ship is that you're allowed to use 2 of every unique weapon and console in the game on your ship. So say, for instance, normally you'd only be allowed to use 1 of the Terran Task Force Disruptor Beam Arrays, because it's a unique weapon from your reputation. With the starship trait slotted, now you can put 2 of those weapons on your ship at the same time. Keep in mind with these unique things, like if you use like 2 DPRMs on your ship, the clicky would have the exact same cooldown for both of them whenever you use one of them. So it's not going to be as beneficial to stack clickies, and also your set bonuses only apply once to your ship, so it's only really going to be beneficial to stack really strong weapons and to stack really strong consoles that don't really have clickies with them, because your clickies aren't going to be beneficial for your second console. For the console itself for this ship, I couldn't think of any other cool ones outside of the Klingon ones I'm going to be listing in a moment. So I decided just to use the multiple catastrophic system failures that was stated in the first episode of Discovery Season 2. For this one, it doesn't add a potential weapon proc, it adds a guaranteed debuff to enemies whenever you use your weapons. So for energy weapons, it'll add a 3-second 15% outgoing damage debuff to enemies, and torpedoes add a negative 25% passive regeneration debuff and debuff to all incoming and outgoing healing from that starship. It lasts for 20 seconds because torpedoes can't fire as quickly as energy weapons can, so I felt that a longer debuff was totally fine. For our science Klingon battlecruiser, the starship trait is called the Wolf in Sight. While this trait is slotted, you would be able to command enemy faction starships. So basically, say for instance that you're a Klingon captain, or you want to start a Klingon captain, but all of your strong C-Star starships are on the Federation side. Well, just buy this starship, and now you could actually command a Federation starship as a Klingon captain. And like the one cost you'll be losing is that you'll be losing one starship trait to do so. So what that basically means is, even from the canon's perspective, Klingon captains would not be as powerful, like Klingon faction captains would not be as powerful as Federation captains whenever they're commanding Federation starships, and vice versa. Federation captains would not be as effective as Klingon faction captains in commanding those Klingon starships inside the game. To me, that seems like a canonically perfectly acceptable reason. It would also add some legitimacy into why a certain Klingon captain in KDF Honor Guard garb is piloting a Science Star cruiser in a certain mission called Hive Onslaught. Okay, realistically, it in the game is actually not possible to have a Klingon captain in Honor Guard garb piloting a ship like the Enterprise J, unless you had a trait like this inside of the game. Just gonna throw that out there. The console from the ship is called Torchbearer. Basically, whenever this console is slotted on your starship, you're allowed to use any other console from any other starship in the game on your starship, regardless of what other regular starship requirements those consoles would otherwise have. So, for instance, hey, do you want to use the Tier 6 flagship consoles on a ship that's not a flagship? Now you can. Hey, you want to use the self-res console from the Vaadwaur Juggernaut cruiser on a non-Voth ship? Now you can. This would add a lot of variety to the game. I mean, there still be the cost that you lose one console to do so. So technically, those consoles on the regular ships would still be more powerful. But it adds a lot of variety and it adds a lot of value to older ships inside the game. And that's just my opinion, though. For the actual pack itself, for pricing, I feel that it should be 4,500 Zen. So 4,000 Zen is what you would typically expect for a 2-starship pack, or 3,000 individually, and then an extra 500 for some account unlock usability to synergize with the starships inside this pack that I'll list out over here in just a moment. Some additional quality of life things: if you buy one starship, the other starship from the pack is discounted to 1,500 Zen. And then the total price would be 2,000, so that if you bought the whole pack as little separate pieces, the worst total price would be 5,000 Zen instead of 4,500. So it's not going to feel that insanely bad to buy them in separate pieces if you so choose, instead of buying them all at once. Also allows you to buy one ship and see if you like the type of concept itself, instead of having to go gung-ho and buy the whole thing at once. Otherwise you feel really bad afterwards, like most other packs inside the game. As for the stuff you would get with the 500 Zen account unlock usability, first off, if you buy the full pack, or buy every single thing in its little pieces and eventually get the whole thing, first off, all starships that are across your account, that are available to any captain, are added to every single captain's Admiralty system, regardless of whether or not that captain would actually ever be able to be allowed to fly that starship. I feel that this would add a lot of usability benefits to, for instance, free-to-play players that have very few ships available to them for the Admiralty system. So, for instance, if you only play Federation captains, if you just had three different Federation captains that chose, like one just chose cruisers all the way through up, one just chose escorts, and one just chose science vessels all the way up, and then you bought this pack, now those all the tier 2 through 4 like cruisers, escorts, and science vessels would be able to every single captain's Admiralty system now. It would add a lot of extra ships to a lot of those players that don't have a lot of the really expensive tier 5 and tier 6 starships from the exchange or from the C store, so that they could actually still be able to use that system in the end game. Because right now, if you don't have those ships, you only have like maybe 5, 6, 7 ships, something like that. It's not very many, honestly. And so a lot of those players don't use the Admiralty system that much, and so they don't really level that quickly and don't get their specializations maxed out very quickly because they don't have a lot of starships to use for the Admiralty system. This pack would help to solve that. Secondly, all Starship traits and consoles accessible to any captain on your entire account are immediately unlocked and available to claim for all captains on your account. So let's say, for instance, you have a Jem'Hadar strike ship with that one trait that increases the duration of cannon rapid fire for one of your captains. Now, with this pack, that trait, as well as its really strong console, is immediately available for every captain on your account. Now, still for the Starship traits, like normal, you can't use them until level 50 because that's the way the game design is right now. But what this basically would also mean is that there's not going to be any Starship trait grinding whatsoever for any of your captains. It's immediately unlocked for all C-Store, as well as lockbox and low-buy ships that are available to any captain would be unlocked and available for all captains on your Starship or on your account. And then thirdly, the T5U and Tier 6 Starship mastery thing that was hinted at with Victory's Life would be added to every Tier 5U capable, as well as all Tier 6 Starships inside the game. This will also include all starships inside of the C-Store, so that, say, you want to use the Wolf Inside trait from the Klingon Discovery Battlecruiser, you'd be able to have an enemy faction starship be able to be used by your captains as well. What this will basically mean is that your only Starship mastery grinding stuff that would happen inside the game with this pack would only be for the starships you actually want to fly. So it makes the grind, I mean, it would still be a grind, but at least it'll be a grind that'll be more enjoyable and more satisfactory for the players to use inside the game. In my opinion, this aspect right here should already be in place inside the game, but if they wanted to add another 500 or 1,000 Zen to the C-Store as just an extra unlock for the game, or put in a pack like this to get a little bit more money for those people that don't care about this at all, it would still probably be worth it for the player base. But anyway, those are just my thoughts and ideas for this. For those of you that are curious and are like, oh no, they have to release a promotion pack starship, they have the Mirror Universe Constitution that they could easily use. They can make it insanely stronger than the Discovery Enterprise from the C-Store, and they could pack in tons of stats and things, and also in a powerful trading console like the Vaadwaur Juggernaut, and make it sciencey as well, because Mirror Universe canonically is, at least in Star Trek Online, is more sciencey than our Prime Universe stuff. Make it have 6 science consoles plus an extra universe if they really want it. Who knows if they really want to do stuff like that. I feel that this is where they should go for that, and they can still design the Discovery Constitution, and then just add some tiny little extra cool cosmetic things on top of it for the ISS to find. But that's just me personally. Hopefully, for those of you that managed to get to the end of this video, hopefully this video for you was enjoyable in some fashion. Maybe it would have given you some more ideas. If you happen to be someone from Cryptic and like these ideas, feel free to add them to the game. I don't really care if you use my ideas. I just want the game to be better. I want this game to last a long time, but Cryptic, if you keep on doing packs like you did with the Discovery Operations pack, unfortunately, you're going to preemptively kill this game, and I don't want you to do that. So, hopefully this has helped you. Hopefully this has helped garnish new ideas for you all, as well as other people in the community, to keep on generating more ideas so that the game can be better. But anyway, and if you really feel it, for instance, for those of you in the community that feel that this needs to be shared, feel free to share it on social media as well. If not, totally fine too. Feel free to like and subscribe. And as I can and feel like it, I will continue putting out even more Star Trek Online videos. Thank you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.